Once again, back, it's the incredible Dale Valor's Inner Game Podcast. I'm rapper turned dating coach Dale Valor, your inner game wingman. Listen, here's the deal. If you're new to this podcast, what we're talking about is inner game. What is inner game? Inner game is the relationship that you have with you. If all the other relationships in your life are suffering, in large part, and usually it's due to the relationship that you have with you sucks, right? So if you don't like yourself, how can you expect anybody else to, either? So here's the deal, man. We're going to go deep on so many inner game concepts in this podcast. I really am glad that you're here. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. If you're a long timer, welcome back. And let's hop in. Okay, so you had the paranormal stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then you have the fire, right? Yeah. And, obviously, clearly, everything that you're describing would be a traumatic experience for anyone, especially, losing your pets like that. Like, listen, not everybody's an animal person, but you strike me that way. And I'm like that too. Like, I've got a paw print of a cat of mine that passed away, like right here. It's on my chest. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I take that seriously. So I know that loss, like it's something that affects you. So how long did it take? Was there something like a catalyst or like an epiphany or something like that like took that traumatic event and you're like, you know what, I'm going to use this as, something that's positive, what was that thing? What was that event?
Sitting down with my girlfriend at that time and saying the words, hey, we need a break. I found the strength in myself while going through all that to finally stand up for me.
Okay.
There started to be some red flags before the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I put them off because new relationship, compromise has to be made. Okay. After the fire, she went through the same traumatic loss too. She had a pet, she lost it. I get it. She lost her things. Mm-hmm. But it burned the mask off that she was wearing.
Interesting.
And she came out. And I wasn't having any of that. I finally realized that, dude, you told yourself you were never going to climb back in a box again. And you're getting ready to shut that last lid and tape it shut. We ain't doing this again. So I did some thinking. I'm like, yeah, look, we need a break. And I got accused of kicking around on the street, even when I said, I can go stay at my son's, 13 miles away in Beatrice for a couple of weeks. You can stay here. I'll pay for everything. Get your head and heart figured out. Let me get my head and heart figured out. And we'll see if we can make this thing work.
Yeah.
And the next day I come home from lunch and she informs me that she's moving to Texas with a friend of hers who's got a furnished apartment over the garage. I'm like, okay, well, that's a pretty big break, but if that's what you need to do. And I think she half expected me to beg her to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, the next day I brought home packing boxes from my job and I helped her pack and I loaded her car and I punched the address into her phone and taught her how to fill her gas tank and check her tires and check her fluids. And I sent her on her way. And then when she got there, she called me. She was so proud of herself. I was proud of her. As while the roommate was in that room, everything was good. As soon as that roommate left that room, she tried to start a fight with me. I said, no, we're not doing this. You want to talk? We'll talk. 5 minutes went by. She tried to do it again. I'm like, no, look, told you we're not doing this. You want to talk? I'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night. I hung up.
Yeah.
Blocked. Phone number blocked. Social media blocked. I'm ghosted.
Yeah.
And then I found out from her friends who she also scammed a couple months later that as soon as she got off the phone with me, within an hour, she was on the phone to her ex, hey, come get me. And told him the same thing that she told me about him, how dangerous I was and how abusive I was. And no, it's a repeating cycle there. Yeah. No thanks. Yeah. So that started all of this. She kept telling me, I can't do this. There's no way you can rebuild a house. You can't do this. There it is. Look, you see this somehow? Look what I did.
Yeah.
Now, I wish you well. If you're watching this, I wish you well. I wish you healing. I hope your life turns out the way you need it to be.
Now, you know, what I really like about that is that, you know, you set very firm boundaries. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like, look, it was up to her to accept those terms or not, right? And she chose not to, you know.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, because she chose not to, you dodged a bullet. If those boundaries weren't in play, you know, you never set them, you're not dodging that bullet, right? You're getting hit right in the dome with it. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's one huge takeaway that I see right there. But now, okay, so she leaves.
Huh?
What, like, was it like just in your brain, it just clicked? Like, I need to get on this path of self-development.
No. Okay. Right before she left, I'd been in my job for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've had issues with it for a decade. I finally started looking for something else.
Yeah.
And, you know, the fire happened and I talked to her about, you know, I want to quit. I want to rebuild my home. I want to take the insurance money, live off of it for a few years, write my books and rebuild my home. She's like, no, you can't do that. Don't do that. I had been paying for everything.
Yeah.
Without that income, I hadn't got the insurance money yet. If I quit my job, I honestly didn't know what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit said, do it. So I picked up my phone right in front of her. I was like, I quit. I'm done. And I quit. Wow. And after that, and after she left, everything just fell into place. I needed my ex to sign because her name was still on the lease because I finally got divorced after 5 years. Finally. It took that long. Mm-hmm. She wouldn't sign the papers. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't get my insurance money. And she finally told me I did that because I was afraid that, you know, your girlfriend was going to run out the money.
Yeah.
I have no idea. You know, I don't want to think that, but it's neither here nor there. As soon as I messaged her, hey, she left, she's gone. Can we get this taken care of? I want to get the divorce done. I need my money. Okay, I'll come up Monday. Cool. One day. Divorce done. Insurance paper signed. Check in my hand. Let's rock and roll.
Wow, that's a hell of a day, man. Like, yep. What is this, Christmas? You know, I mean, Jesus. All right. Okay. So now what I'd really like to get at is, yes, a lot of wheels in motion there, right? Like, you got to get, you know, she has to sign this in order for this to happen. And for this to happen, that has to happen, right? So there's kind of a domino thing there.
Stress, anxiety. Oh, I can't explain how much stress and anxiety I was under. And yeah. I was working, you know, full-time plus, coming home, spending a little time with the girlfriend, changing clothes, coming over here, working on the house, you know, deconstructing it. Yeah. When I was finally able to be allowed back in here, because the insurance company wouldn't let me back in here for 2 weeks, and the fire marshals and whatever. And with the water and the smoke damage, and I had food downstairs, you know, I garden, yeah. And it was rotting. There were maggots everywhere. It looked like a bomb went off in here and smelled ungodly. And I had to clean all that up, and I did it. But I mean, it was a living nightmare. It really was. And, you know, I was trying to find time between, you know, work time, quality time. I was trying to find a balance.
Yeah.
And nothing I would do for anybody was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know what, you got to watch out for you. And then once all those dominoes came into effect, I started tearing the house apart, and I started finding things, numbers, pictures, playing cards shoved behind the woodwork. There's one in every room. I have those. When I get this a little further, I'm going to take a day. I got friends that do tarot readings from playing cards. So I'm going to say, hey, what do you got for me? What did the people who built this house and lived in this house, what kind of message did they leave for me?
Yeah.
But I'm an energy worker. I do Reiki. I heal. Some other things, remove, you know, attachments from people. And so the very first time I stuck my crowbar in that wall, I pounded a little hole in it, stuck my crowbar in it, and I pulled that crowbar down, and I ripped that plaster and lath off, I literally got knocked about 3 foot back on my tail from the energy that came out of this house. So not only did I get to heal myself, I got to heal this home, because some not so good things have happened in this home since it was built.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was proven on the show.
Yeah.
So I got to clean not only myself, I got to clean this house. I got not only to rebuild this house, I got to rebuild myself. So all of that combined is what really got me going. But the initial catalyst of what started my journey was me fighting to get help with my paranormal issues and reaching out to the Dead Files. Amy put me in the right in talks with the right people who could help me, and they not only helped clear this, but they helped teach me.
Yeah.
In learning, I wanted more knowledge so I could help other people better and help myself better, which jump started the self-help, my healing myself. I mean, it's just one thing led to another, led to another, led to another, led to another, and here we are talking today.
That's awesome, man. You know what it reminds me of, kind of, is have either one of you guys like ever watched The Sopranos? Okay.
I've heard of it. I just haven't watched it.
Imagine you've heard of it. pretty big, groundbreaking show. But
mob type show, right?
What's that?
Mob type show,
yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
So Tony Soprano, who's the main guy of the show, right? He's got a son, right, named AJ.
Okay.
Now AJ, he's kind of a head case to a degree. You know, it's deals with depression, panic attacks, and things like that. Okay. And in the last season, he's like really going through it. You know what I mean? Like he tries to commit suicide, and you know, like he's really having a rough go. And his parents, to try to cheer him up and things like that, you know, they give him a car, okay? And he's out with his girlfriend. They're out in the woods. They're kind of fucking around or whatever. And so lo and behold, he's parked on a pile of leaves, and the heat from the vehicle sets the leaves on fire, which catches the car on fire. Okay. Yep. And they get out of there, but the car explodes. And like, as soon as that explosion of that car happened, it was just like, for whatever reason, like he just bounced back. Just seeing that car explode made him like start to come back to life to a degree. Right. And that's really what that reminds me of. And it's like, you know, going through something like that, even though it's just, I mean, let's call it what it is. And I'm not trying to diminish the meaning of the home or anything like that, but we're talking about tangible, just things, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And
yes.
It's so amazing to me that the attachment that we put on these things that means so much to us, that can take us from one part of our life to another part of our life. You know what I mean? And that's what I really like about your story, is that all of that, like, is as shitty as I'm sure it was in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even imagine. Yeah. As bad as that was, how it just turned out to be something so monumentally important.
Absolutely.
For your own personal growth and just becoming a better person. And you know what I mean? Like, that's so dope, man. You know,
you're hitting the nail on the head. Because before the fire, I was going through my home, attic to basement. I was a pack rat. I kept everything. I kept all of my kids' homework, everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just started going through. I just felt like I needed to make room in my life.
Yeah.
For new things. So I'm healing. I'm letting know that things go. I need to make more room. So, plus, you know, I was tired of the clutter, and so I went through the house twice, still finding stuff. You know, letters to my girlfriends in high school. I don't need that anymore. I kept those because what if, just in case. Hey, look what I kept. You know. Yeah. No, I took those out back and I burned them.
I remember this 40 years ago.
Yeah, but I actually got a hold of these people. I said, hey, look, I got these, but I don't need them anymore.
Yeah.
I'm letting them go. And they're like, okay, good, you know. But Spirit didn't think I was doing it quick enough. And so Spirit did it in a span of 20 minutes. And so then I got to go through my home and pick up every item down to the last ballpoint pen, write it on a piece of paper, take a picture of it, look up on the internet how much that pen is worth, write it on my insurance papers, 173 pages worth.
Wow. 3
DVDs of pictures. That was some healing, let me tell you, because there were some days thrown away that I want to keep. But like you said, it's a 3D object. I still have the memory. Well, now, I don't need the object to remind me of that memory. Like I said, the very specific things that are very important to me survive. Some of my kids' artwork, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The rest I didn't need. I have maybe not even a third of what I had before, and it's almost too much. I can't find things, I got the basics, I got stereo, TV, stands, computer, desk, stove, refrigerator. I got a filing cabinet. I got, my dressers in my bed. I've got the basics, but even that, I still need to go through my garage and get it cleaned out because it's a pit. I'll admit it, but I'm using that for my workshop, so I don't have time to do it right now. So I will get it done. I don't need help with it. Okay. I do not need help with it.
So what was the after everything kind of settled? Okay. Yeah. What was the catalyst for starting the Otters Den podcast?
Oh, that actually started way before the fire.
Oh, really?
No, it wasn't before the Dead Files. It was after the Dead Files. The mechanics they needed a break from their life. I'm like, well, I live here alone now. I got an extra bedroom. Y'all come up, crash, we'll party, whatever. Mm-hmm. So they came up here and they did a show, a live feed. Spirit Mechanics. They did like a Thursday night. I think at that time it was Wednesday Night Live, where they give like a energetic forecast, what the planets are doing, stuff like that. And they got it queued up on my computer, and Steve got up from the chair, put me in the chair, said, "Good luck, you're doing the show." What? No, I'm not yet. Yeah, you are. I'm sure I sucked at it. I was sitting here sweating like a razor blades, but I did it. I was afraid. I never was a public speaker. I was afraid to get up in front of people. Mm-hmm. And a couple things turned that around. And I got to speak at the Lincoln, Nebraska Paranormal Conference and tell my story about the Dead Files. Yeah. And I figured, what? If I help one person, if I make an ass out of myself, it's worth it. Yeah. And no doubt. Both those days I got to help somebody. And so over time, I was on Steve's show with them, more often. And I got to the point where, what? I'm talking to a screen. So if I get up in front of people, I just pretend I'm talking to the screen. These people are on my phone, on the computer. They're not right there. Yeah. And we go to Scarefest every year down in Kentucky. And a lot of times the Spirit Mechanics is very big in Scarefest. Yeah. And so they are asked to speak. And I have spoken a couple times there. And that's what I do. I just get up, I tell my story just like I'm doing here. Yeah. And that's what led me just to figure out one day, you just need to do your own show. You want to help people. That is a way to reach out and help other people.
That's dope, man. That's super cool. All right. So before we kind of wrap everything up, I gotta tell you my paranormal story. And now Shabam, you probably don't remember. You'll probably start because I know I told you. You'll probably start remembering it.
The UFO one. The UFO.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep. So all right. Cool. Did I talk about that on the podcast ever? I think I may have brought it up one time. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Probably right after it happened because it's like, how could you not tell? You know what I mean? Like. Yeah. But okay. So now, by the way, just to make the distinction, do you consider like UFO type stuff? Do you consider that paranormal? I know they kind of get lumped together, but it's not like afterlife type stuff. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
The way I look at it, if it's not normal, it's something else.
Okay. Fair enough, man. Well, I'm a walking paranormal. Ain't nothing normal about me. All right. So this is what happened, man. All right. So now I've always been, let me just say this. I'm a curious skeptic, like I love hearing about paranormal stuff. I love hearing about like UFOlogy type of stuff. Rarely do I buy into what it is that like, if I'm watching, like, remember I was telling you when we were talking on the phone about the Y-Files, you know what I mean? I don't know if you checked into that at all, but what's that?
I did look up, I did subscribe.
Okay.
So I'm going to check them out when I get
Yeah.
time.
Okay. So the guy, AJ, that hosts that show on that YouTube channel, like he's very similar to me in that way. Like he'll do a whole episode about something, and then the last 5 minutes he goes through and kind of shows the evidence, either like debunking it or like, man, we don't know. You know what I mean? Like this, I can't find anything that really debunks this particular thing, He's like, so I kind of believe it, So I kind of feel like that myself, And so now my wife, on the other hand, she's like Dale Gribble from King of the Hill, man. Any you make up anything, and she's all in. You know what I mean? Every government conspiracy, everything, man. She's hook, line, and sinker. She bought into it. So she's really big into like UFO stuff, like these hearings going on. She like makes sure she watches all the live feeds of it and all this. And so anyway, I get home. This was probably about, let's see, it was before Christmas of last year. Probably about it, almost a year ago, probably now. And so I get home and I'm walking like from my car. I park on the street, right? And so I get out of the car and I'm walking towards my door. And in the sky, now, mind you, I live in Detroit, you know what I mean? Like it's it's a big city, right? You know what I mean? Like I don't live in the suburbs. I live in the city. Okay. Absolutely. So there's lights everywhere all the time, but these particular lights, it was like, they were like, kind of like almost like they were floating. Okay. And they were like in a formation of sorts. Okay. They looked to me, if I had to guess, they seem to be about, I don't know, man. I'd probably say 1,000 feet off the ground, somewhere between 500 feet and 1,000 feet. Okay. And so they weren't moving fast. They weren't like, sometimes you see these videos of them just kind of like zigzagging around and things like that. Wasn't anything like that. They were kind of like V formation, but they didn't look to be connected. Okay. It wasn't like you're looking at the bottom of a spaceship or something. They didn't seem to be connected, but they seemed to be flying in a formation.
I've seen videos of that formation before.
Okay. So they're just kind of just floating along, not going very fast. And as these ones would get out of sight, here come more. Okay. And so I go in the house real quick and I'm like, hey, you want to see UFOs? Now's the time. Now or never. And she's like, what? What are you talking about? She thought I was just messing with her. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Go outside. Come on, let's go.
Let's go.
So we go outside and I'm walking down the sidewalk towards these things to see if I can get a better look at it. Yeah. Now, I'm notoriously bad about like taking pictures of things and recording anything. I wish I just didn't even think of it. It just didn't even occur to me to get my phone out,
Yeah.
And so this happened. They went by, I would say it was either 5 or 6 times. I stayed out there the whole time until the last ones finally went over, and that was that. No more was following it up. So we started we go in the house, we start just searching the internet to see if like anybody had reported anything, anybody else had seen this. Yeah. Now we're starting to think like, okay, logically, what could this have been? Take aliens out of this. What could this have been? So we started thinking maybe it was, and by the way, let me say this too. It was a weeknight. It wasn't on the weekend. Okay. And that's kind of important. So, what we started thinking was maybe it was like, like those Chinese lanterns,
Oh yeah.
You know how they just kind of float along.
Yeah.
And so, but then I was like, well, it's a weeknight. Like, why would anybody? What's that?
Multiple sightings of the same pattern.
Yeah, that's
Kind
the
of
other
leads
thing.
not
That's
to
the
that.
other part of it. But like they let those things off at like weddings, and they just kind of float around all over the place. You know what I mean? This was a weeknight. It was already getting kind of late. It was dark out, obviously. I'm like,
Yep.
and we searched to see if there was like any like weddings going on in the area where like that may have occurred. You know,
Yeah, you covered your bases.
we couldn't find anything. You know, and again, just like you said, that was the next thought. I'm like, yeah, but those things just kind of like it's like letting off a bunch of balloons. You know, they just kind of go wherever. They don't like stay in a formation. You know,
right.
And then we thought, well, maybe it was satellites. But then again, they seem too close to the like satellites look like they're little lights. You know what I mean? These things look like think of like a 2-liter bottle of pop. You know what I mean?
Satellites move quick. Yeah.
So it was like a light that was like this. You're like, like so. Imagine this, but like big, right? Like cylinder shaped, though, right? So I'm like, well, it couldn't have been satellites,
Mm-hmm.
and then, don't know what it was, honestly. You know what I'm saying? I'm still apprehensive to say it was like UFOs, but
one of the conspiracy theories is, government's getting ready to disclose some information about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm aware, but then again, could be like psyop type stuff. It could be like one of those things. It's like, hey, let's just tell everybody that there's aliens and just to freak everybody out so we can get more control.
Not wrong.
Not
wrong.
So, I don't know, man.
I've got an alien story too, real quick.
Okay.
I don't know, 20 years ago. I don't know. I was driving out in the country looking for a new hunting spot. I had Mountain Dew. It was the middle of the afternoon. I was sober. And all of a sudden my truck starts cutting out. The radio starts cutting out. And the next thing I know, I am sitting at a stop sign 10 miles away from where I was, truck in drive with my foot on the brake. No memory. Hour had passed.
So it was like time loss.
I got into a fight a couple weeks later and I broke my hand. This bone, then this bone, then this bone.
Mm-hmm.
Boxer fractures.
Yeah.
It was to protect somebody. I didn't start it.
Yeah.
Just had to throw that out. But I
got I'm punching this dude in the face and I see an alien, right?
Come back in the bar. I got a couple shots of tequila and a bag of ice. I go in the bathroom. I ice my hand down, take the shots of tequila, and I set my own hand.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to go, I've broken stuff before and set it myself. No big deal. My wife at the time made me go get x-rays. So we went and got x-rays. And he's like, why are you here? That's set perfectly. If you already saw a doctor and they said it, why are you here? Like, who said it? I'm like, I did.
Mm-hmm.
No, really, who said it? And Shannon's like, no, he actually said it. He's like, no, you're fine. However, we did see something interesting on your x-rays. There is a little rice-shaped piece of material right there in my thumb.
No way.
They can tell that it is not wood, it is bone, it is not plastic, it is not metal. They can tell me everything it's not, but they cannot tell me what it is.
Do they extract it?
No.
Oh man, I'd be getting a knife out, man. Like,
I really thought about that. Where it's so small, that would take a bit of digging. But one of these days, I get a little bit of extra money saved up. I do want to get it removed and actually see what it is. But my biggest question is, why?
Right. Yeah. That's exactly why I'd be like, man, get this thing out of me, man.
Is it something beneficial so they can protect me? Is it something non-beneficial so they can find me later?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Siobhan, do you have any paranormal stories at all?
Not like I've heard of other stories around, like, with people, but none of mine at least. Never had.
You need to get out more.
For sure. Like, we do have haunted houses here, like a lot of them, but like I've just never been there. Like, that's not my type of thing. And like, I mean, it's not that I don't believe in it. It's more like you don't want to go and piss off something just for fun. Like, like, why?
Let me go troll these spirits.
There are some things you do not want to piss off. And that is one aspect that a paranormal team needs to look at. When you're going to help somebody and say you're Christian based or spiritually based, I'm spiritual. I'm not a Christian. I believe in many different gods, deities. You need to look at their beliefs as to what could be affecting them.
Yeah.
And you need to treat that situation with respect for their beliefs. If you go in and they've got something from, their words, their way of thinking, I'll just say that.
Okay, I got
you.
That certain entity from their belief has this ability. Okay, you may walk in there and you got a race to deal with, but you have to talk to them the way they're going to understand it and to try to take care of it in a way that they're going to see and understand, so they know that entity is no longer there. Have to be respect for their beliefs, because if it is something that from their religion that is real, and it's messing with them, and you try to take care of that with Christian beliefs, you're going to cause issues, and you won't be booked. Just saying.
Yeah.
So you really got to do your homework when you're going in to help people.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Well, listen, Keith, I appreciate you coming on, man. I'm really looking forward to jumping on yours. I know it's going to be a trip, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. And listen, make sure if you're watching this, listening to this, whatever, check out the Otters Den podcast, especially if you're into paranormal. Definitely check that out, man. What a great story. I absolutely love it. And
thank you.
You said you got books out?
Not yet.
Okay.
However, I was just recently in a movie called 1 in 6 million. Just a small, low budget film.
Yeah.
Didn't do too bad in it, so I'm thinking about maybe looking to do some more of that. Who knows?
It's fun, man. I've acted in like indie films and stuff like that, and I enjoy it.
It's fun. It was fun.
Yeah. It's just like pretend. You know what I mean? Like as adults, like we don't get the opportunity to just like
let the
play make believe. You know what I mean? Like, but it gives you that affordability outlet to be able to do that. So, but well, listen again.
We are on the 16th. You and I are on.
Okay, so it's not Monday. It's the 16th. Okay, I've got it in my phone. I just, for whatever reason, I was thinking Monday. Okay.
Trust me.
I got you. So, Keith, again, thank you, man. This was super awesome, and definitely appreciate you, man.
All right. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it too. If I can tell my story and help anybody, I'm more than happy to.
What's the best way for somebody to contact you?
Facebook.
Okay.
I got my personal page. I got the Otters Den page. I got the Cobra Paranormal page and the Cobra Paranormal group page. Spirit Mechanics, they've got a Facebook page.
Yeah.
And spiritmechanics.com. And mechanics is spelled with an X at the end.
Okay. Well, we'll link up your contact info, and guys, if you want to reach out and find out a little bit more about either the podcast, just whatever, hit them up. So, all right. Appreciate you. Peace.
Thank you.
Well, man, I know that you got a lot of information out of this particular episode. Listen, if you need to go a little bit deeper, always feel free to reach out to me. Look, there's a few ways you can do that. You can shoot me an email. You can send me a DM. I'm easy to find, but the best place that you can find me is at freegiftfromdale.com. It's in the description of the episode, and you're going to get a couple of free gifts there. You'll get the first chapter of my book, Inner Game, and you will also find an exercise to help you find out about yourself and who you really, truly are at the core. Okay. And listen, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, or the podcast, make sure you do so, man. It takes you 1 second to do it. And it means the world to us here. Okay. If you know somebody who could really use this information, feel free to share it, man. Don't hold it to yourself. You know what I mean? So we will see you in the next one.